The night my husband died, I thought the worst pain I could ever feel was watching the man I loved take his final breath. But I was wrong. That night was only the beginning. The real pain came later, when I discovered the secret he had buried so carefully, hidden inside the one place he had always forbidden me from entering, the villa on the edge of our land in Texas. For 30 years he had been my partner, my protector, the man I trusted with every part of my soul. And yet, whenever I asked about that villa, standing there like a ghost at the edge of our property, his face would harden. His voice would turn sharp. "Don't go there, Emily. That place is not for you." At first, I thought it was just some old family storage house, filled with things from a past he didn't want to remember. I obeyed him out of respect. But now, as a widow standing on the broken pieces of my life, I couldn't shake the pull of that forbidden place. The funeral had barely ended when the questions began to haunt me. Why did he always tense up when the villa was mentioned? Why did he lock it so tightly, carrying the only key on a chain around his neck, even while he slept? That chain was still in my drawer now, cold and heavy like a burden pressing against my chest. I remember the first night alone in our big house. The silence was unbearable, pressing against the walls, filling the air. I couldn't sleep. My hands kept reaching for that key, running over its jagged edges, as though it was whispering to me. I knew that villa was more than just a building. It was a story he had never told me, and now I had to know. But when I finally walked across the field toward it, something strange happened. I swear I felt like someone was watching me. The villa stood there, its windows boarded, its walls cracked, but the closer I got, the more my stomach twisted. I wasn't just walking into an empty house. I was walking into my husband's shadow. When I pushed the key into the lock, my hand trembled. The door groaned open and a wave of cold, stale air rushed past me. Inside, the villa looked nothing like what I expected. There was no dust, no cobwebs, no forgotten furniture. Instead, everything was clean. Too clean. Almost like someone had been there just yesterday. And then I saw it on the wall right in front of me. A giant portrait of a woman. Her face looked hauntingly familiar, but it wasn't me. My chest tightened. Who was she? Why would my husband hang her portrait here, in the villa he kept hidden from me all these years? I stepped closer, my eyes scanning the details. The woman had soft eyes, a faint smile, and hair tied neatly back. There was something eerily intimate about the way she was painted, as though the artist had memorized every curve of her face. I felt jealousy burn in my veins, sharp and ugly. My husband had never once painted me. My knees weakened and I had to grab the wall for support. But then, just as I steadied myself, I noticed something at the bottom corner of the painting. His handwriting. My husband's handwriting. The words read, "Forever, my love. Forgive me." The room spun. My breath caught in my throat. Forgive me? Forgive him for what? I wanted to leave right then. I wanted to slam the door shut and pretend I never saw it. But something in me refused. I couldn't turn back. Not when I had already stepped into this darkness. Deeper inside the villa, I found a drawer slightly open. Inside, neatly stacked, were letters tied with a ribbon. My hand shook as I pulled one free. The paper was yellowed with age, but the ink was still clear. The letter wasn't addressed to me, it was addressed to her. The woman from the portrait. My husband had written pages and pages of words to her. Love letters. Promises. Dreams. Words he had never spoken to me. My heart cracked with every line I read. He wrote about nights under the stars, about a future they planned together, about how he couldn't bear the weight of their separation. He called her his true love. I dropped the letter, gasping for air. My husband, the man I had trusted more than anyone, had lived an entire second life, hidden from me. And just when I thought the betrayal couldn't cut any deeper, I heard it. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Someone was inside the villa. My heart slammed against my ribs so hard it felt like the sound alone would give me away. For a moment I couldn't move, frozen in the middle of the room, the letter trembling in my hands. Then I heard it again, slow, deliberate footsteps creaking above me. Whoever it was wasn't trying to hide. They wanted me to know they were there. I backed toward the door, every instinct screaming at me to run, but something inside me refused. This villa wasn't just a house. It was the key to the life my husband had kept hidden. And if someone else was here, they might know the truth. I tightened my grip on the keychain still in my pocket, as if it could protect me, and whispered to myself, "You've come too far to run now." The stairs groaned, and then a shadow stretched across the wall. Slowly, a figure appeared at the landing. A woman. My breath caught as her face came into the light. She looked exactly like the portrait hanging in front of me. Same delicate jawline, same haunting eyes. But that couldn't be possible. The portrait looked decades old. This woman should have been nothing more than a memory. And yet, here she was, standing flesh and blood, staring at me with an expression that was neither shock nor anger but something far worse, recognition. "You shouldn't be here," she said, her voice calm, almost sorrowful. I stumbled back, my throat dry. Who are you?" Her lips curled into the faintest smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "You already know." I shook my head furiously, clinging to reason. "No. You can't be her. That's impossible. My husband, he's been writing to you for decades. You'd be much older now." She stepped closer, the floorboards groaning beneath her bare feet. "Time doesn't erase love, Emily. He promised me this villa would remain ours. He promised me I would never be forgotten." I felt my knees weaken. She knew my name. She knew about the villa. But how? My husband had never spoken of her. Not once. My stomach twisted with nausea, the world spinning as her words sank in. I wanted answers, but before I could form another question, she leaned in close, her eyes burning into mine. "He didn't tell you the truth because you wouldn't have stayed." A chill ran down my spine. My husband had lied to me, yes, but the way she said it, the certainty in her voice, was like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. "Stayed? Stayed for what?" Her lips parted as if to answer, but then suddenly, her expression shifted. Fear. Real fear. She whipped her head toward the window, as though she had heard something outside. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They know you're here now. You need to leave before it's too late." "They?" My voice cracked. "Who's they?" But she didn't answer. She bolted up the stairs, vanishing into the darkness like a shadow retreating into the night. I chased after her, desperate, calling her name though I didn't even know what it was. The upstairs hall was long and narrow, lined with doors. I flung each one open, but every room was empty, silent, untouched. When I reached the final door at the end of the hall, my hand trembled on the knob. I pushed it open slowly. Inside was a room that looked like it belonged to another world. White lace curtains, a small writing desk, and an old trunk at the foot of the bed. On the nightstand, a silver locket glimmered under the faint moonlight. I picked it up, my fingers trembling. When I opened it, my chest clenched. Inside was a picture of my husband, young, smiling, full of life, and the woman from the portrait standing beside him. Not only that, but there was a child in the picture too. A little boy with the same sharp eyes as my husband. My throat tightened until I could hardly breathe. He had a son. I stumbled back, nearly dropping the locket. My husband hadn't just loved another woman. He had built a family with her. But as the realization crashed into me, the floor creaked again. This time it wasn't from upstairs. It was from directly behind me. I turned slowly, my hands trembling, and saw a man standing in the doorway. He looked no older than 25. His jawline was familiar, his eyes piercingly sharp. My knees buckled when I realized why. He had my husband's face. For a moment the world around me dissolved. My legs turned to stone, my throat locked, and all I could do was stare at him. The same sharp eyes, the same determined jaw, even the faint dimple that appeared when my husband used to smirk. It was all there, etched into this young man's face like a cruel reminder of betrayal. Who are you?" I whispered, though deep inside I already knew the answer. His voice was steady, cold, too calm for someone who had just stumbled upon me rifling through his hidden world. "My name is Daniel. I'm his son." The word son struck me harder than any physical blow could. I stumbled back, clutching the locket so tightly my knuckles went white. "That's not possible. If you were his son, he would have told me." "He would have." Daniel's lips twisted into something between a smirk and a sneer. "He would have lied. That's what he did best, didn't he?" Tears burned my eyes, anger and heartbreak colliding in a storm inside me. I was his wife. I spent my life by his side. I loved him. And he loved her. Daniel snapped, stepping into the room, his presence swallowing the air. My mother. He loved her enough to give her this villa. Enough to promise her eternity while you lived in his shadow. His words sliced through me, each one sharper than the last. My knees threatened to give way, but I forced myself to stand tall. If that's true, then why keep it hidden? Why lock this place away? Why keep you hidden? Daniel's expression faltered just for a moment, as if I had hit a nerve. His gaze flicked to the trunk at the foot of the bed. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he walked over and knelt beside it. With a heavy breath, he pushed it open. Inside were documents, photographs, and stacks of old cash bundled in rubber bands. But beneath it all lay something darker. A pistol gleaming under the dim light. My stomach lurched. This wasn't just about love, Daniel said quietly. This was about survival. He wasn't the man you thought he was. I swallowed hard, my voice breaking. What are you talking about? He lifted one of the folders from the trunk and tossed it toward me. Papers spilled across the floor. They weren't love letters. They were legal documents, contracts, and old police records, all under names I didn't recognize. My husband's picture was clipped to one of them, but the name beneath it wasn't his. My hands trembled as I picked it up. This isn't real. It's as real as the blood he spilled, Daniel said flatly. Your husband wasn't just living a double life. He was running from one. He had enemies. Dangerous ones. And he knew if anyone found out about me or my mother, we wouldn't survive. The words made my head spin. My husband, my steady, loving, ordinary husband, was a man who had hidden weapons, fake identities, and a second family? Daniel's jaw tightened. They never stopped looking for him. And now that he's dead, they'll come for me. And maybe for you too. I dropped the papers, my chest heaving. Why? Why me? He looked at me with something almost like pity. Because you hold the key now. The one around your neck. That key doesn't just open the villa. It opens the vault beneath it. That's what they're after. I froze, instinctively reaching for the chain in my pocket. The key felt like it was burning against my skin. A vault? What's inside? Daniel's eyes darkened. The reason my father could never escape his past. Before I could press him further, the sound of tires screeched outside the villa. Headlights cut through the window, blinding and sudden. Daniel's face drained of color. They found us, he hissed. You need to choose right now, trust me or die with the truth. The front door shattered open with a thunderous crash. Heavy boots stormed inside. Voices shouted in the darkness. Daniel grabbed my arm, his grip like iron, and yanked me toward the hidden door at the back of the room. Run, Emily. Now. But before we could move another step, a gunshot echoed through the villa, shaking the walls. And someone screamed my name. The sound cut through the villa like a blade, sharp and merciless. Daniel shoved me against the wall, his eyes wide with panic. The voices downstairs were getting closer, boots slamming against the wooden floor, the metallic click of guns being cocked echoing in the dark. Emily! The voice called again, deeper now, closer. My blood ran cold. I knew that voice. It was impossible, my husband was dead. I had seen him buried. I had watched the coffin lowered into the ground with my own eyes. But the voice was his. Daniel's grip on my arm tightened. Don't listen. It's not him. It can't be. But my heart rebelled against reason. I shoved Daniel aside and stumbled toward the staircase, my breath ragged. Every creak of the wood felt like thunder beneath my feet. When I reached the landing, I froze. There he was. My husband. Alive. Standing in the dim light of the shattered doorway. His face gaunt, his eyes sunken but unmistakably him. He looked older, weaker, like a ghost that had clawed its way back from the grave. Emily. His voice cracked, and for a moment, I almost ran into his arms. But then I saw the men behind him, armed, cold-eyed, surrounding him like vultures circling prey. He wasn't my husband anymore. He was their prisoner. Or worse, their leader. You shouldn't have opened the villa, he said softly, his eyes locking on mine. Now they'll never let you go. My knees buckled. You lied to me. All these years you lied. His expression twisted in pain. I had to. If you knew the truth, you'd be dead already. Daniel appeared at the top of the stairs, fury blazing in his eyes. You left us. You left her to die. You left me in this hell. The men raised their guns. My husband lifted a hand, stopping them. His eyes darted between me and Daniel, his jaw trembling. For the first time he looked broken. Daniel, my son. I never stopped protecting you. Everything I did, every lie, was to keep you safe. Daniel's hand shook as he pointed the pistol from the trunk straight at his father. You don't get to call me your son. Not after what you did. Time froze. I was trapped between the two of them, my heart splitting in half. A husband I thought I knew, and a son I had just discovered, both standing on opposite sides of a secret that had destroyed everything. And then the house shook. A muffled boom erupted beneath our feet, sending dust and plaster raining from the ceiling. One of the men shouted, "The vault! It's been breached!" My husband's face turned pale. He shoved past the guards, his voice desperate. No! If they open it, we're all dead. Before I could react, Daniel grabbed my wrist and pulled me toward the back hallway. We have to get to the vault first. If they open it, it's over. We tore through the villa, stumbling down a narrow staircase that led to the basement. The air grew colder, heavier. And there it was, the vault door, massive and steel, glowing faintly with an ominous hum. The key in my pocket vibrated like it had a pulse of its own. Daniel pushed me forward. You have the key. Open it. My hands trembled as I pulled it out, my mind screaming not to. Whatever was inside had already cost me my marriage, my peace, my entire life. But the footsteps were closing in behind us, and there was no time left. I shoved the key into the lock. The door groaned, metal grinding against metal, until finally, with a deafening hiss, it swung open. Inside was not money, not jewels, not evidence. It was a room lined with vials, strange glowing containers stacked neatly on shelves, humming with a sickening light. Documents lay scattered across a table, stamped with government seals I didn't recognize. Weapons, formulas, things I didn't understand but instinctively knew were deadly. Daniel's face went pale. Oh my God, he wasn't just hiding from enemies. He was one of them. This is what they were all after. Behind us, my husband staggered into the room, his eyes wild. Emily, listen to me. You can't let them take this. It's not just about me. It's about the world. If this falls into the wrong hands, millions will die. The guards swarmed in, weapons raised. Daniel raised his pistol. My husband raised his hands. And I, standing between them all, realized the choice was mine. I could lock the vault forever, trapping the truth inside. Or I could expose everything, no matter the cost. My breath came in shudders, tears blurring my vision. I looked at Daniel, at my husband, at the men aiming their guns, and felt the weight of decades of lies pressing down on me. And then I made my choice. I grabbed the key, turned it hard, and slammed the vault shut. The metal echoed like thunder, final and unbreakable. The guards roared. Daniel pulled the trigger. My husband collapsed, his body crumpling against the cold floor, his eyes locking on mine one last time. Forgive me, he whispered, and then he was gone. The villa shook again as the vault sealed itself, the hum fading into silence. The guards fled, knowing what was lost could never be reclaimed. Daniel stood frozen, the pistol slipping from his hands, his chest heaving with sobs. And me. I collapsed to the floor, my body racked with grief, anger, and a hollow emptiness that words could never describe. In that moment I understood the truth. My husband hadn't just lived a double life. He had sacrificed everything, me, our marriage, even his own soul, for a secret that could never be spoken aloud. The villa is silent now. The key lies heavy in my palm, useless and cursed. My husband is gone, my life shattered, but the secret remains buried beneath these walls. And I am the only one left to carry it.